So this next session is a really fun one. We went back and forth on the title a little bit, Small But Mighty. I had an awesome punchline for this, but I was told I would get canceled. So it was backed out. However, before we get into the panel and talk a little bit about Small But Mighty, I want to bring up James from IMS People Possible to introduce himself, the company, and get us all super excited for the Small But Mighty panel. James, coming up to the stage. Let's give James a round of applause. IMS People Possible, everybody. All right, James, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm James Hyle with IMS People Possible. I'm the senior manager over North America, and excited to be here. I'm excited for this panel that's going to be up here. 24 years of experience myself on the staffing industry side, working in both the small companies and the large, so definitely a difference, and I'm excited to see what you guys have. So we're an offshore recruiting service partner, and for healthcare staffing companies specifically, we solve one of the biggest operational headaches, the cost and complexity of scaling your recruiting, credentialing, and financial operations with ballooning overhead. We all know about that. We've been doing this for over 20 years, partnering with 250 staffing agencies globally. In fact, our clients have achieved a 2-to-1 placement ratio based off of our subs, which speaks to our quality that our resources are able to provide to you. And so whether you're needing full cycle recruitment, credentialing, compliance, ATS maintenance, or just help with specific pieces of your workflow, we'd be happy to help. So if you're looking to grow your fill rates, reduce your turnaround times, or control cost, I'd love to spend some time with you. And again, happy to be here.
All right, everyone give James a round of applause. He's over there in his booth. All right, guys, let's give our panel a round of applause. Woo!
Thank you again to IMS People Possible for sponsoring this session, and I'm so excited to kick off our very first panel of the day. You all look great. I'm so excited to chat with you. So we have 4 incredible panelists up here who are proving that being smaller doesn't mean thinking smaller. And I'm really excited to dig into how they're building successful, competitive agencies in today's market. So I'd love to have each of you introduce yourselves briefly. Jordan, you want to get us started?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I got to bring the energy, man. It's like 9 p.m.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Jordan Tallman. I own Wayward Medical Staffing. We were founded in 2021, and I am starting a newsletter and a YouTube channel to acquire leads, and I'm using TNS actually to fuel our email list. So it's been incredible, and we've had some great success.
Good morning, I'm Kristi Hamilton. I'm SVP of Operations with GetMed Staffing. We've been open since 2018, and I've been recruiting for longer than I want to admit. But yeah, really excited to be here. Not as cool as Jordan, but here we go.
Carrie Ellis from Windsor Healthcare Recruitment Group. We started in January of 2024. Some people said that was crazy, but we are persevering and building a really, really awesome service.
My name is Tim Quass. I'm a CFO and co-owner of Clear Choice Resources. We started in March of 2023. If anyone would have told me to do that again, I would have called them crazy, but we went all in, and it's been a wild ride for the last 3 years for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be here with all of you, and let's dive into our first question. There's a mindset in this industry that bigger naturally means stronger, bigger teams, bigger reach, bigger resources. And while those things absolutely can be advantages, sometimes that scale can create challenges that smaller agencies don't necessarily have to deal with. So from your perspective, what is something that big agencies often view as a strength that you actually believe can become a weakness? And I'd love for Carrie to start on this one, and then we can hop around.
I think that big agencies, they are very segmented. There's one person doing one job, and when you're talking to a client or a clinician, they really want that relationship, and they feel like they are being passed off, and to really build that trust to where they come to you for everything that they need. being an advocate more than just being a recruiter, and really having the trust with your clients that they know when they give you a job, you're working on it, you're going to fill it.
Anyone else want to hop in on that question?
I can jump in.
I think brand. A lot of the, excuse me, bigger agencies have these huge brands, and they feel like that's their strength. And I think on the hospital side, it definitely is. But when you're talking to the nurses, a lot of them are talking about class action lawsuits, and I should have got paid $1,000. And it's really easy. Everyone knows there's a small minority of nurses who love airing their grievances on Reddit and Facebook. And it's really easy for our recruiters to go and find like, hey, we're against XYZ agency. Look at all of these bad reviews, right? So we're using Great Recruiters as a tool right now to gather reviews and have positive ones to put up against those complaints on Reddit.
Kristi, Tim, do you have anything to add there?
I mean, I think that they've done a good job of answering it. But I do think, I mean, kind of to what Carrie's saying, but scale can be a really good thing to sell when you're in the big guys, right? I think scale is one of their biggest strengths. But when you're smaller, you just have a lot more control over the authenticity of your experience that you're offering up to your candidates, to your clients. You're just a lot closer because you're small. Every person is wearing a lot of hats. You just have a lot more control of what's going on in your environment because of that.
Tim, do you have anything down there?
I mean, I think they did a great job saying all the great things. I mean, like Carrie said, I think it's, bigger agencies tend to silo and they compartmentalize things, and a smaller agency can be more cohesive and create a better experience for the traveler, because that's really what's going to differentiate you in this market right now is how are you going to be different than the other competition. So.
I love that. And Kristi, you said something that flows perfectly into our next question, so thank you very much. And that's about recruiters wearing a lot of hats in smaller agencies, which we know that they often have to do. And they have to operate a little differently than they would in a larger organization. So I'd like to know, what does a really high-performing recruiter look like in a smaller agency compared to a larger one? And I'd love to start with you, Kristi, on here.
Okay. I think you have a lot of similar strengths when it comes to, I mean, and I think a lot of us on this stage too have worked at the big companies, so we've experienced both sides. High performers are high performers, right? They're driven, they're going to go after it. I think the uniqueness about a high performer in our environment is they have a lot more skin in the game. They recognize that by them performing well, they're also helping the company to grow. So you just see that they're building not just our business, but their own business. And they have a lot more ownership in their success and the success of the company.
Anyone else have anything to say there?
So one of the things that I think with a smaller agency, your recruiters are able to really figure out what makes them productive, where bigger agencies, it's really focused on KPIs, sending out mass texts. And I have seen that doing that can actually close down your source, because people will block when they get the same text message from 7 different people from one agency, in a matter of a few days. So just really empowering the recruiters to find the niche that makes them the most productive, and then really helping them and support them in that area.
Jordan, Tim, anything to add?
Yeah. So I think the recruiter of the future, the most successful possible one, is using social media not just to post jobs, but actually to network and deliver value to nurses. So Sarah May is sitting right over there. I nominated her for Recruiter of the Year, but she's a perfect example of this. If anyone's seen her online, she goes into these Facebook groups and just delivers value. Clinicians are asking questions. Hey, have you been to this hospital? Is this one good? And she's going and saying, hey, look, I've got 2 nurses over there. Do you want to talk to them? She's not recruiting them. She's literally just trying to get them information and provide value. And that's the way that they appreciate. They don't want to be called 19 times from people who are overseas. They just want the information and they want it good, and that's why they love Sarah. So, sorry, Sarah, don't mean to embarrass you too much.
Good work, Sarah. Tim, do you have anything before we move on?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think in a smaller agency, being authentic is so very important. Authenticity is, and I think in the larger agencies, you tend to focus on, like Carrie said, the KPIs and the process and the transaction more than the relationship and the authenticity. And I think that's such an important part for our industry to move towards, is that authentic relationship building is the key to the future, in my opinion.
I agree. All right, so our next question, as you all know up here and as everybody knows in the audience, this industry is incredibly competitive, and smaller agencies have to go head to head with companies that have bigger brands, bigger budgets, and a lot more visibility. But candidates still choose smaller agencies over bigger agencies every day. So when you're competing against a larger agency for the same candidate, what actually tips the decision in your favor? And I'd love to start with you, Tim, on this one.
I mean, there's probably a couple part answer on that. One would be availability of the recruiter and the agency themselves. You know, I know at ClearChoice, you know, our people always will pick up the phone at night. Our emergency line is always picked up. It doesn't matter. That's just what we do. And I also think it also comes down to like the relationship. You know, we compete all the time where some agencies will pay better. You know, they'll go to a lower margin. They're willing to go down to the lower margin. And, you know, I kind of associated, I've said this when we kind of had our planning for this panel, was I think you have to pick a lane as an agency. Either you're going to be the Walmart of agencies or you're going to be the Nordstrom of agencies. You know, like, is it going to be service-based or is it going to be pay-based? And you can't be both. I mean, it's impossible to be both because you just can't do it. So, you know, I think the way that the small agencies focus on that relationship and that authenticity with their travelers and just the experience they get when they work with that agency.
Yeah, I completely agree. The relationship, but also the education. I think that the travelers, you know, they're getting hounded by constant text messages, emails, phone calls, you know, we have this job, or, you know, what are you looking for? And a lot of recruiters don't take the time to educate them, or maybe they don't really know how to educate them. But I really find that building a relationship with talent, when you educate them and you tell them how things work and how the process goes, so they know what to expect, and then also not trying to talk them into going to your job. If you're competing with another position, whether it pays higher, whether it's, you know, an attractive location, whatever, I really honestly and genuinely want them to make the best decision for their life, for their family. And if they don't take the job with me at that time, they know that I didn't try to force them into something. I'm not looking out for me, I'm looking out for them. And that just builds a lot of credibility and trust, and they always come back.
I love that sentiment. That's great. Do you guys have anything to add to that question? Take it away, Jordan.
Always. Oh no. So to Carrie's point, not talking people into taking your job, just like having commission breath basically is really gross. Nobody likes it. I love the push away close. If anybody tells me that you probably wouldn't be interested in buying this, I say, you don't know me. I'll probably buy it right now just to spite you, right? So I like to tell clinicians, hey, I only have jobs in Montana. I'm the Montana guy. You probably wouldn't want to work with me. It's okay. And I'll get people to travel from across the country just by not being interested in, or too desperate, I guess you would say. So that's my 2 cents.
So,
yeah, talking them out of the job. I love that.
all right, so our next question is on brand. So brand visibility is obviously one of the biggest challenges that smaller agencies are up against, especially when competing with companies, like we said, that have significantly larger marketing budgets and overall recognition. So how do you compete on brand when larger agencies have significantly more visibility and resources? And Jordan, I would love to start with you on this question.
Yeah, definitely. I think brand's super important, but that's a small agency's advantage is we are not as visible as everyone else. So the information that you get is from the recruiter who's on the phone speaking to you versus all the Reddit and Facebook posts that are out there complaining from that small minority who like to air their grievances. So.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything about brand?
Sure. Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, building a brand that you genuinely believe in. We say we care more, we do more, and we're going to be more. And that's really what we all strive. And every person that's in our organization lives that brand. And so I think that's really important to create something that you genuinely believe in and that you can deliver.
I think so much too of our brand is, it's the experience, right? It's the way you all feel about each other inside the walls, outside the walls, the way you're treating each other. When you're this small, you have again, it comes back down to a bit more control. So you just, I would say everybody has skin in the game. Everybody wants to win. They all know internally what the expectation is of how our candidates are going to be treated. And candidate experience and client experience is always at the forefront. But there are no egos in our walls, and we talk about that a lot. And I think that comes through when you talk to our clinicians. They feel that too. Any of us could pick up the phone, and we're going to probably know who that traveler is because we all are talking about them. They're all part of our family too.
Tim, do you have anything to add there?
They did great.
Awesome. So for my next question, technology is obviously a huge conversation in this industry, but smaller agencies often have to think about adoption a little bit differently because once again, resources, budgets, and teams can look very different. So where has being smaller forced you to be more intentional or more creative about how you adopt and use technology? And Kristi, I'd love to start with you here.
Oh God. We all love technology. We're all really excited about technology, but we all know that it's super expensive for small budgets. We have to be really smart with what we're spending our money on. We've been really intentional about the partnerships that we've engaged in. It has to serve a purpose, either bring in better leads, bring in better candidates, increase the flow of leads, candidates, jobs, and just help us with our speed to market. But it all has to fall into the bigger picture of what I just said, which is the candidate experience, client experience. If it's going to replace those things, then it's probably not going to be right for us. But we've engaged in some big partnerships to help with just the efficiencies. That's a big one for us because we are small. If it can help us with that piece too, that's also important.
Yeah, I agree. Our model in 2026 has been the client or the traveler experience. How we layer in an app, how we layer in payroll, how you layer in the job board, make it user friendly. What does it look like? What's their experience? Because you can buy an infinite amount of technology to integrate, but it doesn't. If it doesn't make the experience better for the clinician, it doesn't really matter. So, we've been very, very selective on what we've been integrating and making sure that it rolls out well and the experience is good to make sure that that clinician's experience is top notch.
Just to add to that, for us, we've been very strategic about the partnerships that we have entered into because we don't have a large staff, so we need to partner with tech that is very supportive and is cost effective, but actually can also save us money. And just to give a little plug to Seapole here, not only is their fees very reasonable, they also save us a ton of money because we don't have to have a parsing tech. We don't have to have job robotics. We don't need any integrations. They do all our integrations for us at no cost. We have a white labeled app for our employees. So we're talking to a few different AI companies now, and really choosing the ones that are going to give us a great customer service and are going to be a good partner as well, and not just add into our tech stack.
Jordan, anything there?
No hot take here.
No hot take. That's just fine. All right, going back to what we talked about recruiters wearing a lot of hats, and even just everyone in smaller agencies wearing a lot of hats. A lot of those smaller agencies are built by very driven people who are willing to move fast, wear those multiple hats, and do whatever it takes to grow. But at some point, that can also become difficult to sustain. So where can smaller agencies rely too much on hustle or on those key people in the business? And where can that start to break down? Carrie, I'd love to start with you here.
Sure. It is very true that you have exceptional people in a small business that wear a lot of hats, and you can max them out quite quickly. That will create bottlenecks for production. So really knowing when those people are, what their max out point is, and where you're going to need to layer in more support or more help so that you can continue to grow, and being really strategic about the timing of that is really important.
I'd add in that the bottleneck is big, and also the risk. If you lose that individual that's wearing all those hats, you could put yourself in a really bad position quickly. So making sure that you have solutions in place to keep operations moving if you were to lose that individual.
I got nothing to add. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, I got a little. I don't know if you guys know me at all, but I'm not a type A person. I'm very type B. And so there's a lot of tribal knowledge in our company that gets lost a lot of times because I'm just going a million miles an hour. So SOPs, writing those out. My wife, Ashley, right there has been really great. She is a type A person. So she's been writing a lot of stuff out for us. And I think that's probably where I fail the most, is just getting organized and structured and building something that is similar to what you guys are operating with.
I like that. And actually, I'm going to throw a curveball question that I didn't send to you guys because that brought up a good point. Other than that organization, when it comes to recruiter training, what does that look like differently in your smaller agencies versus a larger agency?
What does recruiter training look like?
Yes.
Well, we just sent him to Andrew Mathis, right? This guy right over here.
Hey.
Yeah. He's been incredible, honestly. Like, we run him through the program. Our recruiter Jordan's over there. She absolutely loved it, and she's been 3 months and she's been crushing it. And it's because he laid out all the ins and outs, the ups and downs. Highly recommend talking to Andrew if you haven't met him yet.
We have a ton of residential knowledge, so we do some classroom, but a lot is throwing them in and getting the feedback real time. We've done a mix of hiring of experience and non-experience, so that helps to put them all together so that there's a lot of osmosis that happens as well.
I mean, I'm not on the floor because I'm in the back office, but I'm lucky to have two other owners that are in, not only wearing all those hats we talked about last time in the last conversation, but they are on the floor running a full desk and wearing all those hats. So they set the example every day of what's expected on our sales floor, and I think that's key to our setting clear expectations and training on the sales floor in the moment. So.
The only thing I would add to that is just having a mentoring program where you have a seasoned recruiter sitting with your new people, role playing with them, listening to the conversations that they're having so that they can, give them pointers when they get off the phone, like you could have said this, this, or this, and had a different outcome.
Thanks for answering my curveball question. There's lots of value in learning from each other, so I appreciate those answers. My next question that anyone can hop in and answer, I'm not going to direct it to any of you individually, but what is something that smaller agencies can do today that large agencies can't replicate even if they tried?
I mean, I kind of look at the smaller agencies and large agencies. They're the kind of the Titanic. We're the little speedboat. So, we can adapt and change and we see a shiny ball where there's somewhere we can staff. We can be flexible and go directly towards that. Where larger agencies are kind of a little more siloed in their departments, and it's harder to make those changes. So I think that's probably one of the advantages. If a vendor or a direct client comes to us and says, hey, we need help with something, we are able to, be really flexible and usually staff it very quickly in a timely manner that helps that facility. So,
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that being nimble, being flexible, being able to make decisions and empowering your employees that are on the front line to have the autonomy to make those decisions. When you get a client that asks for something like a receptionist, and we're going to throw that up on our job boards, and we're going to recruit for it. And where, bigger agencies may say, oh, that's not my department. We don't staff non-clinical. So.
You guys?
I think they said, that is literally the speed to change is significant in our world. And I've worked in big and small, and I've never felt change go faster than I have here, but it's important, especially with a market that's ever shifting. So.
I could bloviate here, but my wife said just deliver value. That's how you be a good panelist. So I'm going to stick to that.
All right, so our last question before we open it up to the audience floor, I'd love for each of you to answer this one, is what is a constraint of being small that has actually forced you to build a better business?
I'll do this one. And we started in 2023, which was, like I said earlier, probably the worst year to start an agency. I don't know what we were thinking, but it was a challenge by itself. But at the same time, we had a hard time getting on with vendor panels, and some MSPs were kind of pulling back on adding new agencies, and there was a lot of, as you all know, a lot of change happening in that year. We kind of flexed and went towards direct, and that flexibility of not being a large agency versus being a small one forced us to go after business that we probably wouldn't have never went after before. And over the last 3 years, we've scaled pretty well, and it's all been because of going after direct business, and that's helped us survive and grow. And we're getting on with more MSP panels as we speak, but that was really the lifesaver for us, that we just kind of had to adapt and survive, and being a small agency, that allowed us to do that.
Who wants to go next? Anybody?
I forgot the question, to be
I
honest.
can read
What
it to
was
you again, of course. Yes. Thanks for asking. What is a constraint of being small that has actually forced you to build a better business?
Oh, we have like 12 jobs compared to like thousands of jobs. So we really squeeze the juice when it comes to extending. Get real creative.
I would just add to that recruiting for the jobs that you have, instead of spending a lot of time looking through your database for a job that's very specific in a location or a price range, or just really focusing on the jobs that you have and recruiting specifically for those, I think really has helped us grow. And that's the way it used to be. When you're running a dual desk, you are responsible for those jobs. So twofold: one, that's your focus. You want to please your client and fill their jobs. And secondly, you're going to recruit the best candidate for that job, and really let the candidate know and understand the whole entity that they're going to. Knowing those clients very intimately really helps you deliver to the candidate what exactly they're looking for, so that when they get there, they don't have surprises.
Anything there? Okay. I'm going to ask you guys one more question. I know I said that was my last question, but I decided to ask you another. And this question was actually reserved for a later session, but I want to hear from all of you too. So the question is, if you could describe the market right now in one word, what would it be and why would you choose that word? You can have some time to think about your one word.
I think I said it a minute ago, but roller coaster.
Well, that's a good one.
But I think it's, hopefully, it feels like things are shifting in a good way. Like I feel like we're moving back up, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I totally feel the roller coaster thing because we have 30 TOA, and if we lose 6 in a week, then it's like, oh my God, 50% of my business is gone, right? So those ones can hurt. But on the other end, on a more positive side, I do feel a little bit more steady. Being smaller, I don't think we see like the big market waves and changes. We do a lot of direct business and they need nurses. We do critical access, that's our specialty, and they need nurses in the middle of nowhere. So that demand is still there and we've been growing, and as long as we're, shaking hands and kissing babies, we're doing pretty good.
I mean, if you asked me that question last year, I would say chaotic, but this year maybe leveling off. It feels like the job flow is starting to increase again. It feels like there's some levity to the traveler market where they're not expecting, crazy pay. They've kind of come down to the reality of where the pay expectations are. So I feel like things are starting to make that turn, but every day is different in staffing, as you all know. Some days are great and you get on good momentum for a couple of weeks and then you hit a brick wall. But I mean, it's just part of staffing. So,
Yeah, I would just say in the last couple of weeks, I've really seen an increase in jobs. I feel like we had an extra 1,000 jobs in the last 2 weeks. So I do feel like there's a leveling off, a stabilizing that is happening.
Well, thanks so much. And thank you all for being here. This was an awesome session. Let's give our speakers a round of applause. And now we do have a good chunk of time for some audience questions. I know it's early in the morning. I know it's dark in here, but we would love for you to ask some questions. We have 4 incredible panelists up here. So raise your hand if you have questions. We have 2 members of our team who will be carrying around some mics.
My name is Todd Turnus. I just had a quick follow-up to your initial introduction. Could you give a brief summary of maybe the size of your company, the organization structure, how many recruiters you have, back office staff, just as a general reference?
Sure. See if I can up ahead. Back office. I'm the back office, so I do everything in the back office. I do the payroll, the collections. I do all the IT. you name it, it's all there. Aaron and Adela, our other owners, they handle the sales floor and the HR stuff. I handle all the other items. So talk about wearing hats. That's what we do. We're trending towards probably being close to 10 million in revenue this year. 3 years in, I felt it was pretty good for where we're at. First 2 years were a little shaky, I'll put it that way. And I think we have 11 or 12 people, something like that. 12? Something like that. Well, 7, but not including us. So we have 10. So we have 10 with us, with our 3 owners. So we're a small little crew right down the road. So.
So we have 5 recruiters, and there's about 12 of us total. I would say revenue, I think we're trending to do 7 million this year. And we've got 3 people in credentialing. Our IT, we have 2 people that really support our IT, and then there's 3 owners.
Hi. All right. So we've been in business a little bit longer than my peers up here. So we're closer to like 16 recruiters, a handful of client managers. We split that out. And then on the operations side, we have myself doing a lot of like the oversight of the IT, HR, analytics, things of that nature. And then we have a couple other people that help with the payroll and such. We have a controller, and then we have a small team of compliance.
We have a team of 7, 3 recruiters, an account manager, myself, my wife. She does all the back office stuff and keeps us organized. We have a credentialer as well. We've been stuck at like $4 million for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's been driving me nuts. But I'm learning a lot of lessons recently, and I love being in rooms like this. And thank you, Oliver and TrackFive, for bringing us together so I can copy off your guys' homework. I don't know what you're going to do with all this information on our companies here, Tim, but thank you for asking. But yeah, that's us.
Thanks for that question. Any other takers? Questions?
Hi, Peter Leibowitz with Rose International. I'm just curious about your mix of recruitment, onshore, offshore, and because you touched on training, how you're approaching training if you do have a mix.
Yeah, we're all completely onshore, and it's a selling point for us.
Same. We are 100% onshore.
And we are as well.
Same.
Nice. Good job.
Easiest question of the day.
You guys spoke a lot about the recruiters. I want to know more about your business development. Do y'all have reps out on the field? Are you, as the owner, doing sales and business development? Because I'm assuming that's a big piece of the puzzle. So can you share a little bit about that?
Like in our early days, it was all boots on the ground. There was 2 of us, so you just did everything. But we now have client managers who their sole job is to go out and look for new business and also obtain new contracts with our current clinicians. So, yeah, they do, I would say 98% of their job is done, though, from their desk. You know, it's phone, and email and text and all the things.
This is one of my favorite questions because I get to brag about my BD guy. He was at Springboard Healthcare for 10 years. He took them, one of 4 salespeople, to go from 2 million to 100 million. And then when they got acquired, he ended up leaving, and I got to bring him on. So I'm super excited. He's got all the MSP relationships and that fun stuff. But we attend a lot of conferences, at the shaking hands and kissing babies thing. And then I also have driven to the different states. Montana's where we do most of our business. And I've visited all those hospitals in person, met the clinicians, and build relationships there multiple times. I'll be in Montana twice this year and a few times next year. My wife's pregnant and doesn't want me to go anymore, but we'll see how this works out. So.
I mean, when we started in our basement, it was just pretty much 4 of us. So we were doing the business development and calling and doing what we had to do. But now we have direct client managers to handle the business development side. I kind of handle the MSP and business development to, strengthen those relationships with the MSPs. Ben Dunlap, one of our account managers, does a great job handling those MSP relationships too. So that's kind of what we have right now.
I am responsible for doing the business development for our organization up until now. We do run dual desks, so the direct clients that I have brought in and the MSPs that we've signed up with, each one of our recruiters is responsible for developing those relationships, calling into our direct contracts. They have multiple locations, so making sure that we're building a rapport with every facility, and then bringing in new business as well.
Any other questions from the floor? Any takers? All right, well, if there are no more questions, we will head into our first break of the day. Since we finished a little early, we'll have a nice 15-minute break. So get some coffee, use the bathroom, and we'll see you back here for our next session in about 15 minutes.